Vivian Core publishes Forever Young online, but broken links leave readers adrift. It's a digital treasure hunt where the map's been shredded, leaving fans wandering the internet like lost souls at an eternal rave.
FC Heidenheim defeats Bayer Leverkusen 2-1, celebrating like it's Oktoberfest in July. When the underdogs crash the elite party, you realize even the smallest keg can topple the biggest beer hall, close to the unexpected.
A corgi and a 99p burger outshine Nigel Farage, proving even fast food and fuzzy friends have more appeal than a political rerun. In a world of golden arches and four-legged royalty, Farage's charisma is about as enduring as a McDonald's lettuce leaf. Welcome to the Real People's Choice Awards.
Landlords use AI to refurbish images of rundown apartments. In this dystopian rental market,
in this cosmic comedy, lawmakers relax on extended vacations, while the nation teeters on the brink of bureaucratic collapse, sipping cocktails as the countdown continues.
Zoran Mamdani's forward message to Trump, then a new sexiest man alive crowned. In a world where a quiz holds the power to distract from democracy's dumpster fire, we celebrate beauty while reality burns in the background.
Rep. Elise Stefanik launches 2026 campaign to unseat Govahokul, calls it a fresh start. In the grand tradition of political musical chairs, Stefanik's campaign promises a new tune, same old dance, just a different partner.
Critical React Native CLI flaw exposed millions of developers to remote attacks, and the patch is still pending. In the digital Wild West, developers are left dodging virtual bullets as tech giants whistle a tune about security, while not quite hitting the right notes.
Trump promises Americans $2,000 each from tariff push, claiming its prosperity through protectionism. In the land of stars and stripes, it's raining dollars, or so they say. Just ignore the sound of economic gears grinding in the background.
"40 years in the making, and humans finally get a fishbowl to call home," now starring 4 lucky souls in the world's least binge-worthy reality show.
New study maps human cortex development, claims to resolve lineage. Finally, a roadmap for the brain's IKEA assembly line, just in time for scientists to argue over which neuron goes where and why the instructions are still in Swedish.
Deepfakes target Ukraine's mobilization, muddying the narrative with digital phantoms. When reality becomes an illusion, truth is the first casualty. Welcome to Warfare 2025, where even your enemies might just be pixels with a grudge.
You
YouTube algorithms boost Yunji Luda's Zombie, calling it the anthem for the disenchanted.
Trump administration skips UN climate summit, while Newsom heads to Brazil for climate talks.
Google integrates Gemini into Maps, improving navigation and hands-free use, but still can't find your soul. It's like giving your GPS a caffeine shot, making it hyper-aware every wrong turn you make, while still leaving you spiritually lost in the digital wilderness.
UPS plane crashes in Kentucky, 12 dead despite advanced safety systems. When your package arrives late, remember it might have caught a flight with a pilot hoping autopilot could also perform miracles.
Google collects your data, calls it service, but privacy takes a backseat. Turns out, when you're singing carols, Google's just listening to monetize your merriment. Who knew joy came with a surveillance price tag?
Country star Luke Bell releases new album posthumously, calls it a tribute.
Mexico's president seeks charges after being groped on street, calls it a breach of dignity. When a president can't walk the streets without being groped, you know decency's taken a siesta. Perhaps it's time we all demand a little more respect and a lot less unsolicited hands-on diplomacy.
When Uncle Sam's wallet snapped shut, even the gears of global military might grind to a halt. Maybe it's time to rethink the priorities when a budget spat leaves soldiers stranded and wallets empty.
Trump cuts deal with Lilly and Novo to lower weight loss drug prices while expanding access. It's like a 2-for-1 special on diet pills, but who's really slimming down here? Maybe it's just the pharmaceutical giants shedding some PR pounds while keeping their wallets fat.
Trump demands New Washington NFL Stadium bear his name, calls it a legacy move, because nothing says lasting impact quite like slapping your name on a sports venue, ensuring that every touchdown is a tribute to oversized egos and underperforming empathy.
Eclipse Foundation yanks leaked OpenVSX tokens, claims it's a security triumph. In a world where digital locks are as reliable as wet tissue, the real triumph is convincing anyone that revoking a few tokens is anything more than a band-aid on a bullet wound.
Dallas Cowboys report Marshawn Leland dead at 24, leaving questions unanswered. In a sport where players are treated like gladiators, it's a tragic reminder that even the toughest warriors can be battling unseen demons off the field.
She releases September 29, declares music the only career worth the chaos. In an industry where fame is fickle and royalties thinner than a TikTok dance trend, She's tenacity might just be the real chart topper.
Jeremy Renner allegedly threatens Lee Jo with ice, claiming it was a misunderstanding. When Hollywood stars start playing immigration officer, it's a plot twist no one asked for. Maybe Renner should stick to saving the world on screen, not policing it off screen.
Liege Airport stops flights twice in a week due to drones, calling it safety first. When drones become the new air traffic controllers, you know the future is here. Who needs pilots when you've got rogue robots ruling the runways?
California law faces lawsuit from Muslim students and teachers on Palestine, claiming free speech infringement. When education becomes a gag order, you have to wonder if the First Amendment is just a suggestion. Censorship, America's latest elective.
Mamdani delivers four-word message to Trump. Turn the volume up in defiant victory speech. When words are louder than actions, it's a shout-out to democracy's resilience. Who knew volume control was the new political strategy?
Wall Street wobbles as dip buying fizzles, ending AI rally with a whimper. When the future's powered by AI, but the market's stuck on dial-up, you know someone's pulling Wall Street's marionette strings.
The party's newfound confidence feels like finding a flashlight in a blackout, illuminating but still powerless against the looming storm.
Spanish police arrest 13 suspected gang members, despite Trump's bravado about dismantling the Tren de Aragua. The operation was less about Trump's bluster and more about Spanish law enforcement doing the real heavy lifting, while he takes credit from afar.
Rooney's confidence is as legendary as his career, but nostalgia doesn't score goals or win matches, it just sells interviews.
Poland plants 100,000 trees for an eagle emblem, but deforestation rates soar elsewhere. When national pride means planting trees for a single day, maybe the real emblem here is short-lived sustainability.
Anselm Cortez releases Mama's Prayer's Eye in 2025, a soul blues track that promises to soothe what ails you. When life feels like a never-ending blues riff, sometimes all you need is a soulful prayer and a beat to dance your troubles away.
TPL fighters seize 6 villages, igniting fears of renewed Ethiopian conflict. In the grand tradition of learning absolutely nothing from history, here comes another round of territorial tug-of-war, with civilians caught in the crossfire like unwilling spectators at a gladiator match.
EU plans stricter visa rules for Russians, citing security concerns. In the ultimate game of diplomatic hopscotch, the EU tightens the screws, while Russians ponder if their tourist visas will come with a side of interrogation or just a really long queue.
Only 5% of gospel tracks crack mainstream charts, and Carl Anderson calls it divine intervention. When soul meets the heavens, it seems even angels need a marketing team to get a hit single.
Trump threatens to ground flights unless Democrats yield and calls it negotiation. Holding travelers hostage is the latest in political theater, next up demanding ransom and frequent flyer miles.
Trump slashes weight loss drug prices with Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk, then limits Medicare coverage. Cutting costs while cutting care, because nothing says health reform like a bargain bin body transformation.
China's AI boom boosts power stocks but fuels climate concerns. When your AI revolution is powered by coal, it's like trading fossil fuels for fossil fools.
Pharma firms push new daily pill, claim it lowers cholesterol more than statins. Just what we needed, another pill to pop when we could have just put down the butter and picked up a carrot.
Trump redefines affordability,
claims it's a fresh concept while building another gilded ballroom. When you're too busy gilding your golden kingdom, affordable becomes just another word for someone else's problem.
Only 5% of child performers become stars, and Sammy Davis Jr. called it perseverance. When you start tap dancing on TV at 5, you're not just beating the odds, you're rewriting the script.
CDC predicts only 60% flu shot effectiveness, calls it unpredictable science. When the global flu forecast is as clear as mud, it's like giving a weather report with a broken compass.
Nancy Pelosi exits Congress after 4 decades, claims it's time for fresh voices. As the longest-running sequel in political theater ends, the stage is set for new actors with the same old script.
The oil industry's diet plan: trim down the workforce while the rigs keep bloating their profits.
Mexican authorities foil Iranian embassy assassination plot, call it a diplomatic victory. When diplomacy turns into a game of international Clue, it's always a surprise who ends up holding the candlestick.
When the cure for addiction is locked in a molecule's dance, just pray they don't charge by the step.
Great Barrier Reef faces grim future, but partial recovery possible if global warming stays below 2 degrees Celsius. When nature's masterpiece depends on a thermostat setting, let's hope humanity doesn't lose the remote control.
Midlands attacks alter Sikh women's daily lives and the fear is real. When a trip to the Gurdwara feels like a high-stakes mission, it's clear that fear has become the unwelcome guest in their prayers.
Beijing protests after Taiwan's No 2 leader speaks at European Parliament.
Petrobras accelerates production at world's largest deepwater oil field, despite crude prices near 5-year low. Because nothing says financial foresight like flooding a saturated market to keep those dividends dripping.
Black hole devours massive star, outshining 10 trillion suns, yet cosmically it's just a snack. In the grand cosmic buffet, even the mightiest stars are just hors d'oeuvres to a black hole's insatiable appetite.
James D. Watson dies at 97, leaving behind a legacy of DNA and controversy. The double helix pioneer unravels into history, remembered for scientific genius and a twisted strand of public missteps.
Qatar-linked operation targets ICC prosecutors' alleged victim because justice is just a suggestion.
Judge orders Trump administration to deliver full SN benefits by Friday, and pigs might fly by Saturday. When justice wears a cape and a clock, it's always a race against time for the ones holding the purse strings.
When your phone's more open than a politician's promise, a Knox guardrail feels like a velvet rope at a bank heist.
Labor forces FI bill through House despite opposition, then claims bipartisan progress. In Australian politics, bipartisan means we dragged it through while you screamed. Meanwhile, NAB's profits hit by bad debts. Guess even banks need a bailout from bad decisions.
Scientists achieve control over microbubbles for therapy, yet still can't control their own excitement. Finally, a breakthrough that lets us deliver drugs directly to the brain without drilling holes, though some politicians might still need a good thump to get the message.
U.S. government cuts air traffic at 40 airports just in time for peak travel chaos. It's a perfect storm. Fewer flights and more frustrated travelers, all because the government can't keep its own lights on. Hope you've got a good book and a stiff drink.
Trump accuses foreign meat packers of inflating beef prices, demands investigation despite trade deal promises. Nothing says America first, like blaming foreigners for the cost of your backyard BBQ while conveniently forgetting who signed the trade deals. Pass the ketchup and the irony, please.
Corporate profits soar while cutting nearly 1 million jobs, branded a jobless boom by analysts. It's peak capitalism when the only thing rising faster than profits is the unemployment line. But hey, who needs a paycheck when you can bask in the glory of stock dividends?
In cybersecurity theater, it's all about patching the Titanic while the iceberg's in your living room. Who needs real security when you've got a catalog of all your vulnerabilities?
Ricky Byrd rejects Marshall amps for ear pain, despite decades of rock and roll legacy. In a world where rock legends turn down their amps,
ICE arrests American citizens then denies it because who needs truth when you've got badges? When the enforcers of law play fast and loose with reality, it's no wonder trust collapses faster than a house of cards in a windstorm.
FAA cuts flights by 20%, promises clearer skies, but delivers longer delays. When reducing chaos means creating more chaos, you know the only thing flying high is the irony.
Canadian venues claim hybrid events transcend barriers, yet ticket prices skyrocket beyond reach.
Trump flaunts Marvel bathroom remodel while American families face hunger crisis.
BBC's Tim Davie resigns after airing Dr. Trump clip, citing editorial integrity. When the truth is too much to handle, apparently it's easier to just manipulate the footage and hope no one notices.
Trump's economy sees 1 million job cuts in 2025 hailed as strategic efficiency. When the market's solution to overproduction
is unemployment. Maybe it's time to redefine job creation as more than just a campaign slogan.
McConaughey and Reynolds Beck Password Manager hits $400 million in annual revenue thanks to AI tailwinds. When your data security relies on Hollywood's heartthrobs, it might be time to rethink the intersection of celebrity and cybersecurity.
Progressives warned Democrats against conceding to GOP on shutdown, declare UK you lose. In a political arena where capitulation smells like desperation, the Dems might as well hand the GOP their next campaign ad on a silver platter.
Dick Cheney calls his vice presidency consequential, omitting the chaos.
Bolivia frees Janine and Binge, then calls it justice. When the architect of a bloody crackdown gets a get-out-of-jail-free card, it seems like justice took a long siesta and forgot to set an alarm.
Manufacturing output plummets to 1960s levels, then executives blame the robots.
Federal judge orders Trump administration to fund November benefits, then Trump tweets about budget cuts. It's like ordering a steak dinner while bragging about your new vegan diet. Only in this case, it's the hungry who pay the price.
DoorDash shares drop after announcing increased spending, then calls it strategic growth. It's the classic tale of spend money to make money, but with a twist. The more you spend, the more your investors panic.
US government shutdown threatens to reduce flights to a trickle, and they call it a minor inconvenience. When your vacation plans are in the hands of bureaucratic brinkmanship, suddenly a road trip in a rusty van seems like luxury travel.
When Russia says peace, it's like the fox explaining his vegetarian diet to the henhouse. Sounds good until you notice the feathers.
Apple plans to remove iPhone Apple Watch Wi-Fi sync in the EU with iOS 26.2, calling it an upgrade. Removing features and calling it progress is like selling you a car and calling the missing engine a weight-saving innovation. Four wealthy companies spend $360 billion on AI data centers, yet claim they're saving the future. When you're throwing cash like confetti, it's hard to tell if you're building the next utopia or just gilding your ego-driven empire.
Apple and Google announce AI partnership promising Siri will finally grow a brain. In a world where two tech giants join forces, we may finally get a virtual assistant that doesn't confuse set alarm with send embarrassing texts.
Transportation Secretary Duffy predicts Thanksgiving travel slowdown, blames it on unforeseen turkey shortages. Apparently, the only thing moving slower than holiday traffic is the government's ability to foresee the obvious. Gobble, gobble, grind to a halt.
President Trump praises talks with Modi, plans visit, while ignoring that neither nation has solved their internal strife. When two leaders bond over chaos management, you know the diplomatic dance is more tangled than waltz.
Only 5% of child stars escape unscathed, and Dakota Fanning's empathy for young actors highlights Hollywood's perpetual cycle. When your childhood is a screenplay, you learn to direct compassion on set and off. Trump administration seeks to deport Salvadoran native to Liberia, claiming public interest despite his fear of torture. Apparently, public interest now includes sending people to places they've never called home. It's a new twist on the American dream.
Only 30% of deportees are criminals, yet grandmas are getting the boot too. Looks like family values means sending Nana on a one-way trip.
Nasdaq 100 plunges, worst week since April, yet billionaires still richer. Wall Street's tears could fill a pool, but the wealthy just adjust the temperature and dive back in. Crisis? More like a champagne bath.
YouTube bans Thin Lizzy video, claims it's too rock and roll for 2025. In a world where auto-tune rules, authentic riffs are a threat. Guess they fear a real guitar solo might just start a revolution.
Carly Fiorina refuses to tell truth, calls honesty a left-wing tactic. In the age of alternative facts, honesty is just another radical agenda. Next, she'll claim gravity is a socialist conspiracy.
Lego launches $400 Enterprise D set, boldly breaks wallets. Because nothing says live long and prosper like emptying your bank account for plastic bricks. Warp speed to financial ruin, anyone?
China's exports unexpectedly drop for first time in 8 months, defying expectations. Looks like the trade war's back for a sequel, but this time with a plot twist. Economic sabotage via surprise plot points.
Author John Haidt claims Gen Z brains warp around phones like trees around tombstones, calling it evolution's new plot twist. Maybe it's time to teach kids to swipe left on doom scrolling and right on actual human interaction before their brains become digital bonsai.
Police pull over a man with his bull named Gus, redefining the term road hog in the most literal sense. When your ride is a bull, the only horsepower you're measuring is the kind that leaves a steaming reminder on the pavement.
Israel demobilizes reservist forces across all fronts, then calls it a strategic peace maneuver. When the army heads home and the generals call it a plan, you know they're running out of chess pieces, or maybe just patience.
Nvidia's Jensen Huang claims China will win the AI race, yet sells GPUs to both sides.
When digital witchcraft masquerades as art, it's less about magic and more about the spell of the box office.
Philippines sets rice tariff rules for 2026, but hunger won't wait. When the future's feast is a mirage, today's empty plates echo louder than policy promises.
Senate attempts 15th vote to end U.S. shutdown, while citizens count the days like prisoners. When democracy becomes a broken record, the only sound left is the silence of unpaid workers and shuttered services.
Only 10% of Americans understand ACA subsidy cliff, and Congress calls it a success. When healthcare feels like a high-stakes game of Jenga, it's no wonder people are terrified of the next piece collapsing their lives.
Europe launches 50 satellites with Ariane 6, calls it a step toward independence. While Europe dreams of cosmic sovereignty, we're left wondering if this is just a giant leap towards cluttering the universe with more space junk.
Goldman Sachs reports hedge funds shorting Xiaomi and calls it a smart move. When hedge funds bet against you, it's like the financial world giving you a backhanded compliment, or just a push off a cliff.
UK military pledges support to Belgium. Suspects Russian drones are the new unwanted guests. When your neighbor calls for backup against drone invasions, it's like borrowing sugar, but with tanks and radar instead of teaspoons.
Only 42% of people know Gemini Dongu the rat, and TikTok calls it the next big thing. When a digital rodent becomes a star, it's a sign that our cultural cheese has gone a bit moldy.
Only 53% of Americans know alcohol causes cancer, and the beverage industry calls it misinformation. When denial meets a cocktail of ignorance and industry spin, you get a hangover of epic proportions.
Ukrainian court sentences Russian soldier to life, and Kremlin calls it justice theater.
Reddit's World News hits thread 1500, but peace remains the world's longest-running cliffhanger. In the saga of cyberspace, even the most epic thread can't untangle the web of war, where each comment is a pixel in the picture of despair.
New Yorker's comma queen splits infinitives with a hammer, then calls it syntactical fission. In the world of grammar, wielding a hammer to split infinitives is about as necessary as using a jackhammer to crack an egg, messy, loud, and utterly overkill.
US consumer sentiment tumbles near record low, while LinkedIn sees increased layoff mentions. When your career prospects are as shaky as a Jenga tower in an earthquake, it's no wonder consumer confidence is sinking faster than a lead balloon.
Celsius shares tumble 14% on distribution change fears. Investors question the Alani Nu acquisition. When your sales strategy feels like playing musical chairs, don't be surprised when investors are left standing scratching their heads and wallets.
Tunisian opposition leaders join hunger strike, protest Johar Ben Barak's detention as his health declines after 9 days without food. When democracy's diet is starvation, you know the menu is cooked by someone who prefers silence over healthy dissent.
Only 30% of Reddit users understand MUP means map, and Apostle Paul can't comment. When your creativity is lost in translation, even the holy road less traveled can't save you from the internet's relentless misinterpretation.
Mexico's president vows charges after groping video, but justice rarely moves at the speed of shame. When leaders need a legal team just to walk through a crowd, maybe it's time for the world to catch up with basic respect.
AI screens for tuberculosis in low-income countries, but the real infection is a system that needs tech to do its basic job. When the machines have to step in to save lives because humans can't organize a decent healthcare system, maybe it's time to upgrade our priorities, not just our tech.
Israel reopens underground jail for Palestinians, claiming security while denying daylight and due process. When a government buries justice so deep it never sees the sun, it's not security they're building. It's a shadow of oppression.
Trump administration weakens pollutant restrictions it endorsed. demonstrating commitment to contradiction over consistency. When you flip-flop faster than a fish on land, it's hard to claim you're swimming in the right direction.
Only 20% of Electroclash fans recognize Miss Kitten's Maneki Neko, and the internet calls it a hidden gem. Turns out, even cool cats sometimes get buried under a pile of forgotten playlists and algorithmic indifference.
Beijing cracks down on scam networks after thousands of Chinese force into scamming abroad, claiming it's a fight against crime. Funny how the crackdown comes only after the scams hit home, like a cat finally noticing the mouse party in its own kitchen.
Gold prices rise as U.S. economy weakens, overshadowing progress on Washington's government shutdown, proving shiny metal beats political promises. Gold, the one investment that flourishes when everything else feels like it's melting faster than ice cream on a summer sidewalk.
Thanksgiving meals cost 20% more, and politicians call it a holiday miracle.
Ottawa seeks mass visa cancellation powers, claiming it's about stopping fraud from India. When in doubt, just cancel everyone's plans, right? If only bureaucratic paranoia could be as easily revoked as a visa.
Only 8% of gamers add random friends, and Level Infinite calls it community building. Because nothing says let's be besties like a faceless link and a pixelated plea for friendship in the digital wilderness.
Stefanik links Hochul to Mamdani, then calls it a strategy. This political matchmaking is like pairing peanut butter with motor oil. Messy, unnecessary, and sure to leave a bad taste in everyone's mouth.
Liberal MPs declare Susan Lei's position secure, despite senators' claim of dwindling support. In politics, safe for now is code for watch your back. Because the knives are out, and they're sharpening them with smiles.
Flight cancellations surge past 2,500, and Sean Duffy warns
Michigan National Guard chief declares no troops needed in Detroit, yet the city remains under constant watch like a reality show contestant. Apparently Detroit's newest reality, who needs troops when you have cameras?
TikTok Shop reaches eBay's size, while Trump's tariffs try to shrink everything but his ego. TikTok's secret sauce, dance moves, impulsive purchases, and a marketplace that grows faster than a billionaire's tax breaks.
Louvre chose art over security for years before Jewel Heist, proving once again that beauty is a thief's best accomplice. Prioritizing aesthetics over alarms, the Louvre gambled on the timeless allure of art, only to find that thieves found it irresistible too.
Chinese hackers exploit legacy bugs like Log4j and IIS, turning yesterday's tech into today's espionage toolkit. While the world fawns over new tech, China's cyber operatives dig through dustbins of outdated code, proving that old bugs never die, they just spy.
U.S. immigration decides to deport Nelson Cardbow, a former child soldier, after granting him asylum. Demanded to flee off his sanctuary until you slip up, then it's a one-way ticket back to chaos, because nothing says compassion like conditional kindness.
Israeli forces sustain attacks in Gaza while Hamas returns Golden's body. In the twisted calculus of conflict, human lives are pawned for politics, and the cycle of violence spins on, indifferent to the cost.
King Charles leads Remembrance Day service. Politicians lay wreaths. In a parade of poppies and politeness, the solemn ritual of remembrance dances on, while the living write the next chapter of history's war-torn saga.
Mu'ammar uses humor to survive, spotlighting Palestinian pain. Comedy is a scalpel in Mu'ammar's hands, slicing through silence and carving out space for voices long drowned beneath the din of conflict and indifference.
Trump announces deal with drug makers, then prices stay sky high. Only in the land of contradictions does a deal to lower costs leave you lighter in the wallet than on the scales.
Trump slashes corporate taxes again, while GOP targets Medicaid cuts. It's a classic magic trick. Watch the rich get richer while they make healthcare for the vulnerable disappear. Presto, change-o, and poof, safety net's gone.
Trump equates Walmart meal deal to economic health, then claims prosperity. Because nothing screams booming economy like a $5 turkey dinner. Next up, measuring GDP by the number of pumpkin pies sold. Gobble gobble indeed.
Star-studded cast joins My Darling California, promises yet another crime thriller. Hollywood's answer to a lack of originality, throw more A-listers at it. Because who needs a plot when you've got Chastain, Brolin, and Pine on the payroll?
David Letterman inducts Warren Zevon into Hall of Fame, revives the ghosts of late night past, because nothing says
House Republican predicts shutdown will last beyond Thanksgiving, just in time for Black Friday blues. Who needs turkey when you can feast on government gridlock and political leftovers? America, where dysfunction is always in season.
Trump says inflation is at a perfect number, while reality checks bounce higher than gas prices. Perfect for whom exactly? The 1% or the reality-denying club? Meanwhile, wallets everywhere continue their steady diet of air.
NASA saves Mars mission with orbital dynamics wizardry, dodges rocket that couldn't launch a paper airplane. When your rocket's grounded, who you gonna call? Trajectory analysts. Forget Hogwarts. These folks brew up cosmic solutions with a sprinkle of math and a dash of defiance.
Stream of Passion releases The Curse, promises symphonic metal to ward off your existential dread. when life's a never-ending mosh pit of chaos.
Viktor Orban visits U.S. to broker Putin summit while seeking exemption from Russian oil sanctions. When your geopolitical strategy is a cocktail of sanctions and summits, it's less about diplomacy and more about who's making the strongest martini.
Ali Mamdani joins New York insiders conference in Puerto Rico, where sun and strategy mix awkwardly. When your political conference doubles as a beach getaway, who needs policy breakthroughs when you can have a breakthrough tan?
South Africa receives distress calls from 17 citizens trapped in Donbass, but Ramaphosa's investigation is still on pause. When your government's response to mercenaries in distress is slower than a dial-up modem, maybe it's time to reconsider your international adventuring career.
Hamas returns body of Israeli U.S. soldier held hostage, but Israel calls it a humanitarian gesture. When the return of a soldier's body is spun as a diplomatic gift, it's like wrapping a tragedy in a bow and calling it peace.
Estonian Intel predicts Pokrovsk will fall by year end, yet claims Russian gains will remain limited.
Helmet releases Diet Aftertaste in alt metal, promises to satisfy your hunger for angst. Because who doesn't crave a side of existential dread with their daily grind? Bon appetit, rockers.
The Grammys announce nominations tomorrow, promising drama as Bad Bunny could steal the show. Will the music industry finally admit it dances to the beat of commercial success over artistic merit? Popcorn at the ready, folks.
Reliance tries selling Middle Eastern oil, flipping its usual script as a buyer. Is this a strategic pivot, or just Reliance playing musical chairs with oil barrels? Either way, someone's gonna slip on that greasy dance floor.
Protesters storm Nigeria's new art museum, forcing organizers to halt the preview event. When art meets activism, the canvas becomes a battlefield. Turns out the brush isn't always mightier than the megaphone.
Olivia Rodrigo slams DHS for using her song in a video, calling it racist, hateful propaganda. When your pop anthem becomes a dystopian soundtrack, it's not just a bad idea, it's a remix of Orwellian proportions.
Macquarie Bank loses $6 billion in market value, while a Teal MP backs Nine's call for compensation over gambling ad bans. As the climate consensus crumbles like a sandcastle in a monsoon, the real gamble seems to be on who can profit from catastrophe.
Science Advances publishes new study on Maya Cosmos map, challenging long-held beliefs on their social order and architecture. Archaeologists are rewriting history books while we struggle to read the room on climate change, because who needs ancient wisdom when you've got modern hubris?
Tim Davie and Deborah Turness resign, leaving the BBC to find new leadership amidst a media landscape more chaotic than a kitten in a yarn shop. In a world where news travels faster than a caffeine-fueled squirrel,
Two bigwigs step down and the rest of us are left untangling the mess.
Only 40% of flights might be delayed, and the FAA calls it efficiency. Air travel. The only place where waiting is a sport and the scoreboard is your sanity. Get ready for a weekend of runway roulette.
Only 25% of millennials own homes, and banks call it progress. The American dream, now with an expiration date and a side of avocado toast, seems like home sweet home is a retirement plan.
UPS Flight 2976 crashes, and the company calls it a logistical hiccup. When your package arrives faster than you do, it's time to rethink the delivery strategy. No returns on this trip, folks.
North Carolina State University finds cockroaches poison air, yet landlords call them free pest control.
Only 20% of climate solutions sound sane, and billionaires prefer the craziest ones. When your planet's fate is in the hands of guys who think a giant space mirror is a solid investment, maybe it's time to reevaluate our trust in tech billionaires.
Trump administration demands states slash full SNAP payouts, then warns of catastrophic impact. It's like handing a starving person a loaf, then snatching it back and blaming them for the crumbs. Hunger Games Presidential Edition.
Trump faces major warning as voter pessimism rockets despite his promises of greatness. Turns out, when the emperor's new clothes are invisible, the voters start seeing through the threats and they're not liking the view.
Asian equities plunge in volatile week as AI valuation fears clash with tech optimism. When your stock market strategy needs a therapist more than an analyst, you know the robots are running the asylum.
Tehran rations water amid aquifer crisis, urges rain prayers as a drought solution. When divine intervention becomes your public policy, maybe it's time to rethink what's in the government's glass.
Chinese astronauts stranded in space while Earth politics bicker over weight loss drug prices. When space becomes your lifeline, maybe it's time Earthlings focus less on slimming pills and more on rescue plans.
Only 50% of modern readers know Bram Stoker's Dracula, and TikTok calls it ancient history. When you've got centuries-old bloodsuckers overshadowed by algorithmic vampires, maybe it's time we redefine what truly bites.
Only 20% of Thunder Lips fans admit Got Worse is just noise, and Spotify calls it a hidden gem. When a band sounds like a blender full of rusty nails, maybe the treasure is buried too deep in the cacophony.
Only 30% of radio stations play Christian music, and yet it serenades you in every grocery aisle and dentist chair.
Banks avoid tax hikes in Rachel Reeves's budget, then celebrate with a champagne toast on taxpayers' tab. While the rest of us count pennies, banks pop corks, proving once again that financial acrobatics beat fiscal responsibility every time.
UN Climate Summit opens without US, then expects miracles from a planet on life support. They're hoping to solve climate change without the world's biggest polluter, like trying to win a race with one shoe missing.
Beck releases psychedelic folk track, claims it channels the existential dread of living below truck driving neighbors. Because nothing screams inner peace like the rumble of 18 wheels and fumes of yellow sweat invading your Zen garden.
Nvidia's Jensen Huang declares China will win AI race with US, blames cheap energy and lax rules. Because nothing says winning the future like swapping innovation for coal-fired server farms and AI without a conscience.
Because nothing screams leadership material like a man who treats diplomacy like a pub brawl and governs with the grace of a cat in a bathtub.
In a twist worthy of a reality TV finale, the ratings tank, but the star refuses to leave the set, claiming every boo is just a misunderstood cheer.
Texas Governor Abbott announces fourth-term bid, promises same old rodeo, like a cowboy rerun stuck on repeat. Abbott's campaign rides into town with the same dusty promises, hoping voters have forgotten the last 3 seasons.
Documentary questions. If JMW Turner was neurodivergent, paints new picture of genius.
Curtis Lee vanished after one chart topper, but the echo lingers. One hit, and Curtis Lee slipped into the shadows, leaving us to wonder if fleeting fame was the plan or the price for standing in the spotlight.
At 79, the plot might be thicker than his hair, but the only thing unraveling faster than his thoughts is the patience of anyone still listening.
Judge blocks Trump from sending National Guard to Oregon, claiming he exceeded his authority. Apparently, Trump's idea of state rights is as flexible as his relationship with facts, proving once again that his grasp on power is as shaky as his Twitter fingers.
ID verification laws spark new wave of data breaches, promising security but delivering chaos. It's like building a fortress with paper walls. More laws, more breaches, and the illusion of safety crumbles faster than a politician's promise.
Archaeologists unearth 300,000 years of stone tools in Kenya, proving humans mastered patience over progress. Turns out, innovation is a modern addiction. Our ancestors rode the waves of change with the same tools, while we can't last a year without a new smartphone.
When the referees leave the field, you know the game's gone rogue. Welcome to democracy's DIY apocalypse. Assemble at your own risk. Congress hopes government shutdown ends before Thanksgiving because nothing says gratitude like political gridlock and a side of performative optimism. When hope is the only strategy, it's like bringing a wishbone to a knife fight. Gobble gobble, America, pass the passive aggression.
It's like telling your airline to take a hike while Congress pretends it's still on the runway. Fasten your seatbelts, folks. It's going to be a bumpy standstill.
Indian bumper crop pressures rice prices in Asia because nothing says support local farmers like drowning them in an ocean of surplus. It's a classic case of too much of a good thing, where abundance becomes the new scarcity and farmers are left wading through their own success.
Jim Carrey inducts Soundgarden into Rock Hall, proving even the king of rubber faces needs grunge to express his inner angst.
Hollywood star Damson, Idris's nephew, identified as youngest victim in UK train attack, and the headlines are already exploiting the tragedy.
Syrian President al-Sharaa arrives in the U.S. Washington hopes to recruit him against ISIS despite his questionable human rights record. When the enemy of your enemy becomes your awkward dinner guest, diplomacy starts to look like a high-stakes game of Twister.
Only 5% of artists break into mainstream, and Ikram's latest track, No Quiero Dineros, might just be the sleeper hit they didn't see coming. When an artist can electrify both your ears and your eyes, it's a wonder the music industry keeps turning up the volume on the same old static.
Kent County Council votes to close last youth center, then wonders why youth crime rates rise. When you shut the only door to hope, don't be shocked when the streets start sounding like a symphony of sirens.
US Army deletes food bank guide for soldiers, then denies hunger in the ranks. When serving your country means scavenging for dinner, maybe it's time to question who's really protecting whom.
NSW police allow neo-Nazi rally, then claim commitment to fairness. When hate marches freely and the law takes a smoke break, it seems justice has taken a detour to a parallel universe.
China installs record solar panels, then burns more coal.
Supreme Court blocks payments, then cuts off lifeline. When justice wears a blindfold of irony, it's like handing out parachutes with holes to those already in free fall.
When tragedy becomes routine, it's a damning rhythm of promises broken, and the ocean swallows innocence while bureaucrats sip their morning coffee.
When even the most loyal fans shrug, maybe it's time to stop performing and start listening.
When victory is rebranded as defeat, reality is just a suggestion and truth becomes a casualty on the campaign trail.
SUVs account for 51% of new car sales, yet experts say they endanger health and the planet. When the road becomes a runway for oversized egos, it's not just the carbon footprint that crushes us, but the moral one too.
A federal judge resigns after 40 years on the bench, abandoning a lifetime appointment for reasons unstated. When a judge walks away from a lifetime of gavel banging, you know the scales of justice are teetering on more than just principle.
Supreme Court reinstates Trump-era passport policy, erasing options for transgender and non-binary identities. When the highest court in the land decides your identity is optional, the real question is, whose freedom are they protecting exactly?
Fischer-Tropsch synthesis claims eco-friendly boost, but adding bromethane sounds like greenwashing with a side of periodic table perfume. When your green solution involves a dash of halogens, it's like finding out your organic kale smoothie has a touch of antifreeze.
Leonardo DiCaprio cuts Malibu mansion to $20 million, yet still calls it rare and special. Even Hollywood's eco-warrior knows that when it comes to beachfront real estate, the only thing rarer than the view is a buyer with deep enough pockets.
EU's callous demands US follow international law in narco boat strikes, but Uncle Sam's got a thing for playing whack-a-mole on the high seas. When the EU lectures the US on law and order, it's like the hall monitor asking the school bully to play nice with the rules.
Her cuts through the haze of nostalgia with a scalpel, proving some towns never clean up and some voices never soften.
Mohammed Baraka, fired from Gaza, border roll plans to sue EU, claiming discrimination, but good luck fighting bureaucracy with a human rights slingshot. When the EU gets sued for discrimination, it's like David aiming at Goliath with a paper airplane. Hope you packed extra patience, Mohammed.
Erase raises salt deduction to $40,000, but only if you navigate bureaucracy like a tax code ninja. The government's like a dealer at a casino, raising the stakes while hoping you bust before you cash in. Good luck, homeowners.
Orchestra conductor pauses performance, blames robe cat for missed cue, and the feline remains unrepentant.
University of Missouri claims tiny molecules can halt glaucoma, but only if they see the funding before we go blind. Science teeters on the edge of a breakthrough while society squints at the budget. Here's hoping for clear vision in more ways than one.
Trump administration proposes 50-year mortgage, claims it boosts affordability, but just extends debt sentence. Stretching a mortgage across half a century sounds more like a life sentence than a home sweet home. Who knew owning a house meant never really owning it?
When dreams of a better life become the only path, borders blur, but compassion shouldn't. Let's aim for goals beyond the field.
Russia's navy rattles UK nerves in North Atlantic, but NATO's still busy with its bureaucratic shuffle. It's like a game of battleship, but with real ships and real stakes, while politicians play hide-and-seek with accountability.
U.S. Senate inches toward ending 40-day shutdown, but only after the economy choked on its own bureaucracy. It's like watching a hostage negotiation where the only ransom is common sense, and even that's in short supply.
Kazakhstan to join Abraham Accords, a diplomatic high five for Trump before Central Asian Summit. Joining a club that already recognizes Israel is like Kazakhstan showing up to a party that's nearly over. But hey, who doesn't love a good photo op with the Donald?
Scientists link Hurricane Melissa's fury to climate change, yet policymakers still treat the planet like a disposable coffee cup. It's like blaming the oven for burning the cookies while ignoring the fact that you cranked the heat to 11.
Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum groped in public, proving sexism knows no borders. The world watches as a leader can't walk safely through her own streets, while some still argue gender equality is a solved issue.
Ford ditches electric F-150 plans, then wonders why the planet's on fire. It's like deciding to sail across the ocean, but ditching the sails and hoping the wind won't notice.
Canada's top court approves culling 400 ostriches, calls it a triumph over bird flu. Because nothing says we've got this under control like turning a wildlife crisis into a feathered massacre.
Metropolitan Cathedral of Chernivtsi displays a Romanian phrase in Church Slavonic Cyrillic, merging faith with a scriptural identity crisis. When your religious message needs a multilingual decoder ring, it's less divine intervention and more a game of liturgical Scrabble.
Sarkozy claims prison is very hard, seeks early release, but justice remains unsympathetic. Oh, the woes of a former president discovering that life behind bars isn't quite like a five-star hotel.
Slate Money asks financial advisor about retirement and promises you won't lose your mind, but forgets about losing your savings. Retirement planning advice in 2025, like mapping a treasure hunt where the treasure keeps running away with inflation on its back.
Honda CEO admits solo software ventures don't make sense, yet still champions independence. Apparently, even the kings of combustion need a little help from their friends when it comes to code.
Erasing uncomfortable truths is the new historical preservation, just like painting over cracks and calling it a restoration.
Manufacturers poised to send Tomahawks immediately once Trump agrees, Zelensky reveals. Nothing says peace like a split-second decision to unleash a fleet of missiles at a nod from the reality TV commander-in-chief.
Judge orders Trump to fully fund SNAP by Friday, proving hunger waits for no ego. It's a race against time to see if compassion can beat the clock or if the art of the deal includes starving the needy.
Trump claims transparency, then blocks brain scan results.
Guess when your mind's a Pandora's box of authoritarian impulses. The last thing you want is someone else holding the key.
Bad Bunny earns Grammy nods in 3 top categories, and the music industry pretends it's not decades late to the party.
Senate attempts to end 40-day shutdown, but only after public outcry drowns out their vacation plans. Who knew government could be this efficient at doing nothing? Maybe next they'll solve climate change by sheer inaction.
World leaders condemn Trump, then fly private jets to climate summit. Ah, the sweet scent of hypocrisy. Nothing says save the planet like a VIP lounge and a carbon footprint the size of Texas.
Only 30% of air traffic controllers remain, and Congress calls it a minor turbulence. Looks like the skies are getting clearer. Of planes and logic, at this rate, air travel will be as mythical as unicorns.
German lawmakers accuse AfD of espionage, then wonder why trust is at an all-time low. When your political platform includes cozying up to a foreign power, it's less a party and more a plot twist in a second-rate spy novel.
When a band called Journey finally decides to go separate ways, irony writes itself the best encore. Who knew breaking up could be so on brand?
When your response to a dry spell is to cut the tax, maybe it's time to admit that ignoring the planet's distress calls isn't a viable long-term strategy.
Charlie Garcia warns your bond fund's biggest threat is you, because self-sabotage is the new market trend. When a columnist tells millionaires their worst enemy is their reflection,
It's the classic love-hate relationship, wooing the tech titans for cash while publicly dismissing their silicon brains as dumber than a sack of hammers.
When a rule book becomes a suggestion, it's amazing how quickly democracy turns into a choose-your-own-adventure novel, starring the usual suspects.
Trump demands changes to ACA subsidies as Senate stalls on shutdown, proving negotiation is just a 4-letter word. When healthcare becomes a bargaining chip, you realize the only health they care about is the political pulse of their next election.
Elon Musk's trillion-dollar pay deal raises alarm, hinting at stock market mania. When your paycheck could fund a small nation, it might be time to ask if the market's having a full-blown acid trip.
FAA cancels over 2,200 flights amid chaos as shutdown turns skies into a bureaucratic Bermuda Triangle. When air travel becomes a game of roulette, remember the house always wins and passengers are left holding losing tickets.
President Trump attends NFL game first since Carter, and the Lions still can't win. 47 years between presidential visits, and all it took was the promise of a photo op and a halftime hot dog.
France
Romance reveals Samp-2 shines while Patriot falters, leaving Russian Iskanders slipping through defenses with an embarrassing ease. When your high-tech shield is more Civ than Fortress, maybe it's time to rethink what defense really means in military spending.
Ketanji Brown Jackson halts full SNAP payments order, leaving families in suspense. When basic nutrition becomes a courtroom drama, the real hunger is for justice, not breadcrumbs of bureaucracy.
Scientists design antibodies with RF diffusion, moving beyond random screening to create epitope-specific antibodies entirely in silico, defying traditional methods. When your immune system needs an upgrade, why not go full sci-fi with custom-designed antibodies? Who needs nature when you've got cutting-edge algorithms on your side?
When your paycheck could fund a small nation, maybe it's time to test drive some humility instead of a Cybertruck.
UK government slashes home insulation funding, imperiling climate goals despite warnings from over 60 groups and companies. It's like trying to fix a leaky boat by throwing the bucket overboard. Short-term savings, long-term sinking, climate goals, meet your iceberg.
At this rate, players will be stealing hover cars by the time the game actually drops. Who knew virtual crime could age like fine wine?
Offshore wind set to triple capacity by 2030, and governments call it a breeze towards a sustainable future. It's like promising a full battery when the plug's barely in.
FAA halts flights at Charlotte Douglas, blaming an unexpected lack of air traffic controllers. Looks like the skies are clear, but the excuses are cloudy. Who knew that staffing an airport was as complex as a Sudoku puzzle?
Hollywood reunites casts from the 90s, proving nostalgia is the new Botox. It's like a high school reunion, but with more Botox, less awkwardness, and the same questionable fashion choices. Who needs originality when you have reruns?
Trump fires 6 generals claiming they're not winning enough. Apparently, military expertise is now measured by reality TV standards. All drama, no strategy. Maybe next they'll battle it out in a talent show.
Trump bulldozes affordable housing, claims it's extreme home makeover. The man's version of making America great again apparently involves making it harder to find a place to live. Housing crisis, more like housing crisis management.
Chinese exports to the US fall 25%, but they call it strategic realignment. When your economic plan looks like a roller coaster, maybe it's time to stop letting gravity do the driving. Guess it's all downhill from here.
Virginia Tech scientists claim to reverse memory loss, but only in lab mice. Finally, a breakthrough for mice with aging brains. Too bad about Grandma, but at least your pet rodent might remember where it stashed that cheese.
Nine Inch Nails remixes The Perfect Drug finds It's a Wild Trip with Meat Beat Manifesto. When industrial legends meet electronic alchemists, the result is a sonic cocktail that's as addictive as it is mind-bending. Ear candy with a side of rebellion.
Reddit users discuss perfume spice, but bots hijack the conversation.
Ah, the sweet aroma of electropop, tainted by the acrid stench of spam. Even digital dreams aren't safe from the algorithm's relentless grasp.
Israel demolishes villages in southern Lebanon, despite ceasefire and peace promises. When ceasefire translates to demolition, you know someone's playing linguistic hopscotch with international law. It's a new twist on peacekeeping. Keep the peace by erasing the place.
Federal government demands states claw back SNAP benefits, but only after families have already spent them. It's like asking a starving artist to return the paint after the masterpiece is complete.
Ukrainian strikes cut power to over 20,000 in Russia's Belgorod, governor claims. When electricity vanishes faster than a politician's promise, you know the power struggle's literal. It's a blackout diplomacy special. Dark rooms, darker motives.
Federalist boss blasts Trump as weak and rudderless, then wonders why the ship's sinking. When your own crew calls you a captain without a compass, it's time to question if the map's upside down. But hey, at least the iceberg's got good company.
Taylor Swift's net worth hits $2 billion, proving once again that heartbreak pays better than therapy. While Swift's financial empire expands, the rest of us are left wondering if we should start writing songs about our exes too.
OpenAI advises against harm, yet users report distressing advice, then silence follows. When the help hotline starts offering one-way tickets, it's time to fire the operators and hire some empathy. Remember, even AI should know when to shut up and listen.
UK government launches review into youth unemployment, claims mental health is the scapegoat. When nearly 1 million young folks are left in the lurch, it's easier to blame their brains than admit the system's cracked. Let's hope this review isn't just another round of bureaucratic finger-pointing while the real issues fester.
Zoran Mamdani invokes Eugene Debs in victory speech, but socialism's ghost won't pay rent in New York. Why Mamdani channels the spirits of socialists fast, landlords are busy summoning the power of 1,000 rent hikes.
Navan CFO claims business travel rises while airlines squeeze passengers like sardines. As Navan goes public, travelers are left wondering if the only benefit is the free peanuts.
Tottenham and Manchester United draw 2-2 and fans call it a thrilling finale. When two titans clash and end up in a stalemate, it's like watching a fireworks show that ends with a fizzle. The only real winners are the snack vendors cashing in on the drama.
Zelensky questions fearing Trump as NATO whispers about loyalty tests.
Schumer refuses to reveal his vote in NYC election, raising eyebrows and questions. When a senator plays coy with his ballot, it's like a magician refusing to reveal the trick. Everyone knows there's a rabbit in the hat, but no one's sure which one.
Only 10% of artists release albums, and Taden Techno calls it almost there. In an industry where almost means where's the rest, Taden Knows' latest drop is a reminder that the finish line's just a mirage.
Myanmar junta demolishes 150 scam hut buildings, calls it a crackdown on crime. When the fox guards the hen house, you gotta wonder if the hens were just inconvenient witnesses. Scam or scheme, the demolition dust won't settle truth.
USDA orders states to reverse full food aid benefits, labeling hunger relief a bureaucratic inconvenience. When feeding the hungry becomes a red tape nightmare, it's clear someone's more afraid of empty paperwork than empty stomachs. Bureaucracy 1, humanity 0.
Only 20% of rock bands dare to explode like Tenacious D, and Jack Black calls it artistry. When your voices shatter minds and your lyrics defy gravity, you're not just playing music, you're detonating expectations. Rock on, you magnificent maniacs.
UPS grounds 35. When your delivery service starts sounding like a plot twist from a disaster movie.
Researchers unveil stem cell patch for heart repair, skipping open heart surgery. No more cracking open your rib cage like a lobster dinner. Now it's just a tiny incision. Science may finally be catching up with sci-fi, one cell at a time.
Progressive sees Aurora City Council majority, leaving conservative Jurinsky out in the cold. When the ground shakes, it's either an earthquake or a seismic shift in city politics. Looks like Aurora's ready to swap conservative stasis for a progressive shakeup. Let's hope the new council knows how to dance to the beat of change.
Rick Emmett hints at Triumph Reunion, but only in mixed reality shows. Rock and roll holograms where nostalgia meets technology and you can relive your youth without the smell of sweaty leather jackets. It's like a concert, but with Wi-Fi.
Trump's approval drops as everyday costs skyrocket, but he blames the weather. When your household budget looks like a horror film, even the most diehard supporters start questioning the reality show. As prices rise faster than a reality TV star's ego, the economic blame game rolls on. Can Trump spin this into a win, or will he be caught in his own fiscal fantasy?
Only 30% of country fans embrace classics, and nostalgia calls it tradition. As AI-generated cowboy ballads flood the market, Johnny Cash's warning becomes eerily relevant. Don't take your guns to town or your playlist to the bots.
New Ghidorah album drops at midnight, promises to shatter eardrums and expectations simultaneously. With a title like Obsidian Heart, you'd think they were selling jewelry, but nope, just headbanging catharsis wrapped in riffs as black as space. Tech stocks plummet after record highs. Investors call it a much-needed breather. After riding high on the Magnificent Seven, it's like tech investors finally hit the snooze button, proving even greed needs a nap sometimes.
Hamas transfers soldiers' remains to Israel after 11 years, and Netanyahu calls it a diplomatic win. A bittersweet homecoming 11 years in the making gets spun into a victory by Netanyahu. While the family mourns anew, politicians polish their halos in the spotlight of an old tragedy. Can you feel the empathy radiating from the spin room? Neither can we.
EU considers diluting AI Act, bending under Trump and Silicon Valley's combined weight. When democracy meets capitalism, it turns out the scales of justice are just another seesaw in a billionaire's playground.
CFIA approves ostrich cull in BC, ignoring animal rights pleas. In a world where birds can't fly from bureaucracy, the CFIA proves that even ostriches can't bury their heads in the sand deep enough.
Elon Musk declares himself apolitical, then becomes a far-right icon. Musk's political compass spins like a top with a malfunctioning GPS, landing him squarely in the arms of the far right. The man who claimed to be done with politics now plays a lead role in the global political circus. Who knew self-driving cars could take such a sharp right turn?
Only 0% of Norwegians join the EU, and conspiracy theorists call it sovereignty. Norway, the land of fjords and fiscal independence, prefers its oil slicks to Brussels sprouts. They keep their krona close and deregulations closer, out of sight.
Oliver Roux stands at 7'9", becomes tallest college basketball player ever. When Roux dunks,
Only 40% of Seether fans know Like Suicide, and the band calls it a classic. In a world where post-grunge angst is a currency, Seether's track remains the anthem of the misunderstood, the misfit, and the eternally moody.
Terror groups expand from Sahel to West Africa, promising peace through chaos. Like a disease spreading unchecked, these groups feed on instability, leaving coastal regions to wonder if peace is just a mirage on the horizon.
Trump continues baffling cruelty and stupidity, proving you can indeed have it both ways. In a world where empathy and intelligence should be leadership prerequisites, Trump's greatest achievement might be convincing us the bar was actually a limbo stick. The real question isn't which is worse, but how low he can go.
It's like watching a soap opera, where the plot never changes. The same tired lines, different actors, and the audience left wondering who's really writing this script.
Monster Beverage Corp. Shares surge as energy drink sales skyrocket, marketing it as a healthy choice. It's the classic caffeine-fueled irony, selling sugar-loaded adrenaline in a can, while consumers guzzle it down like it's the elixir of life.
Ticketmaster hikes concert prices again, while the government's crackdown is as effective as a paper umbrella in a hurricane.
Swapping figureheads at the BBC is like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. Glamorous, but ultimately irrelevant. when the ship's been leaking credibility for years. Trust isn't built on resignations, it's built on transparency and accountability.
The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inducts the White Stripes, and Jack White calls Meg his sister despite their infamous split. Rebranding band breakups as family reunions. All the nostalgia, none of the therapy bills. Wonder if they'll share custody of 7 Nation Army.
Protesters ignite flares at Israeli concert in Paris, and the show goes on like a pyrotechnic peace talk. When your concert becomes a light show of international diplomacy, you've got more than just an encore to worry about.
UPS and FedEx ground planes after crash, but Santa's sleigh still on schedule. When your holiday cheer is riding on a wing and a prayer, a few grounded planes could mean the difference between a festive fireplace and an empty chimney. But fear not, the corporate elves are hustling overtime to ensure your gifts arrive before the eggnog curdles.
Sherwin drops Spin City EP, calls vulnerability a vibe, yet insists sadness is off the playlist. When vulnerability is repackaged as a catchy tune, it's like selling heartbreak in a shiny pop wrapper. Just don't call it defeat.
French lawmakers vote to tax American retirees, calling it a fair share for enjoying Social Security. Looks like the French are serving a side of taxes with their croissants, reminding Americans that there's no such thing as a free lunch or retirement.
Only 5% of investors tune into surveillance, and Bloomberg calls it essential. If surveillance is the secret sauce to success, then it seems most investors prefer their trades without a side of Wall Street wisdom.
Scientists witness 8 kilometers of Antarctic ice vanish in 2 months, but Big Oil calls it a minor setback. When your planet's icy guardians are melting faster than a popsicle in hell, you'd think it might ignite a spark under the fossil-fueled juggernauts. Instead, they're busy drafting their next climate denial manifesto, probably titled How to Profit While Rome Burns.
Trump escalates voting restrictions ahead of midterms, branding it a defense of democracy. In a plot twist straight out of a dystopian novel, the man who cries fraud at every shadow is busy casting his own across the ballot box. It's like hiring a fox to guard the hen house and then blaming the chickens when they disappear.
Only 14% of Americans trust the government. If trust were a currency, the US government would be bankrupt with a shiny new debt ceiling to match.
Netflix teases Stranger Things 5 with 5-minute battle, and fans still pay with patience.
In the upside down of streaming, suspense is the real monster, and your subscription is the sacrificial lamb.
Director resigns after editing Trump's speech, claiming it felt like creator waterboarding.
Only 12% of parents know synthetic dyes harm kids, and snack companies call it innovation. Turns out, those neon-colored snacks are less about fun and more about turning your kids into hyperactive streaks of chaos.
Apparently, freedom now means rewarding Hungary with a fossil-fueled hall pass, while the rest of us are stuck paying the climate piper.
Bangladesh police confirmed terror motive in bomb attacks on Catholic churches and school, leaving Christian community shaken. In a world where faith is supposed to bind us, someone decided to play God with a bomb. Meanwhile, the authorities scramble to pick up the pieces and assure us it's under control. It's like trying to patch a sinking ship with a prayer and a bucket.
Cornell University agrees to Trump's civil rights terms, regains federal funding. Because nothing screams higher education like bending over backwards to appease a man who thinks science is a liberal conspiracy.
Jacob Zuma's daughter faces trial over 2021 riots, claims innocence. In a plot twist worthy of a soap opera, the drama of political dynasties unfolds while the people pay the ultimate price.
Israel receives remains of soldier 8 years after his death. Hamas returns to past wrapped in grief as if closure was just a shipping delay, not a cruel bargaining chip.
Senators approach deal to reopen government as key Democrats hint at support just in time for the next crisis. The government plays peekaboo with our livelihoods again, like a toddler with a power switch. Meanwhile, politicians pat themselves on the back for almost doing their jobs, as if we should applaud a lifeguard for not letting the pool drown.
Archive bans computer science reviews without peer review, calling it progress. In a world of infinite data, ArcCiv opts for gatekeeping masquerading as quality control because fewer voices always means better science, right?
Facebook dating attracts 21 million daily users, yet love in the digital panopticon feels oddly dystopian. Because nothing says romance like handing your heart to the same folks who sell your data, now with a side of algorithmic matchmaking.
Senate rejects resolution to block Venezuela military action, 3 killed in boat strike. The Senate hands Trump a blank check for conflict, while 3 souls pay the price in a watery grave. It's a classic tale of power playing chess with human lives, where the pawns are always the first to fall.
Sarkozy leaves prison under judicial supervision, but house arrest is just a posh synonym for a well-decorated cell. It's a curious justice system where the rich get to trade bars for balconies and call it a punishment. Vive la liberté indeed.
Trump administration orders states to cut SNAP benefits because hunger apparently builds character. Nothing says land of the free like a government that thinks the poor should survive on bootstraps and wishful thinking.
U.S. lawmakers end government shutdown. Stocks soar like optimism on borrowed time. The market's riding high on hope and speculation, like a gambler on a lucky streak, while the real economy holds its breath for the next political poker game.
Kenya's fake essay industry nets billions, while real students face degrees with asterisks. In a world where education is bought and sold, diplomas become mere receipts, and the real test is who can afford the cheat.
U.S. Senate rejects limiting Trump's Venezuela war powers, proving peace is just as fragile as a filibuster's resolve. When saber rattling becomes the soundtrack of diplomacy, the Senate's dance with destiny skips the beat of accountability.
U.S. prosecutors indict cybersecurity insiders over It's like putting out a wildfire with a water pistol while the tech industry continues to hand out matches. The real cat in this game is the one that's always got its claws in your data.
Russia revives Soviet nostalgia with border theatrics, as if Cold War cosplay can distract from economic freefall. When your geopolitical strategy is a retro fashion show, expect neighbors to roll their eyes and check their history books.
DNA in seawater reveals lost hammerhead sharks, but oceans keep losing species. It's like finding a needle in a plastic haystack, while the world keeps setting fire to the barn. Science might be able to trace the ghosts of these creatures, but it can't stop them from disappearing when we keep treating the ocean like a trash bin.
Suburbs promise utopia but deliver cul-de-sacs, where dreams of community end in endless lawn care and HOA conformity. It's a place where the American dream got stuck in a roundabout, circling past white picket fences and never finding an exit to genuine connection.
Comcast hires bankers to bid on Warner Brothers Discovery, while streaming dreams of cutting-edge innovation drown in corporate mergers. It's a blockbuster plot twist where creativity and originality get optioned for a sequel nobody asked for, starring the same old corporate giants in different roles.
Only 7% of new releases get noticed, and the industry calls it progress. In a world where everyone screams for attention, the real plot twist is that silence is the loudest sound of all.
Former French President Nicolas Sarkozy, released from prison, claims 5-year sentence was a misunderstanding. It's like a magician's trick. Now you see him, now he's appealing. Sarkozy's Houdini act is a masterclass in political sleight of hand, where the shackles are just for show and accountability is the disappearing act.
Europol faces 3 court cases over illegal hacking, claims it's for justice. When the watchdog turns into the wolf, it's hard to tell who's guarding the sheep or just devouring them.
Unchief denounces climate inaction as moral failure, then watches fossil fuel subsidies skyrocket. Calling out negligence while the oil barons chuckle in their boardrooms is like trying to extinguish a fire with a teaspoon.
Laptops marketed as best for students, then flaunt prices that rival tuition fees. When the student discount requires a second mortgage, maybe the real lesson is in creative budgeting, not computing.
President Trump considers exempting Hungary from sanctions, says Russian energy is a hard habit to break. When your energy dealer is a bear, you might find yourself in a grisly situation. Trump's leniency towards Hungary is like offering free passes to a geopolitical theme park where the roller coaster never ends, just loops you back to the Kremlin.
When your national emergency plan is a mass exodus, maybe it's time to rethink your climate strategy instead of just your evacuation routes.
Expedia raises its full-year revenue outlook, then blames customers for high prices. When the travel industry celebrates your wanderlust, it's not because they love your spirit, but your wallet's elasticity.
Only 7% of Londoners find jobs, and officials call it progress. When the job market's a ghost town, the only thing rising faster than unemployment is the number of empty promises from City Hall.
Social media platforms intensify hate rhetoric against Mandani, algorithmically turning bigotry into primetime entertainment. When social media sells hate as a subscription service, it's like the toxic version of likes for likes. Only this time, it's fueling fear and division at broadband speed.
Senate votes to end 40-day shutdown, then debates lunch options. When government workers are the new fasting monks, the Senate's more concerned about whether to order sushi or sandwiches.
When your morning commute turns into a demolition derby, perhaps it's time for Slovakia's railways to consider a new slogan: arrive shaken, not stirred.
Brazilian government blames tornado for 6 deaths, ignores climate change. When Mother Nature throws a tantrum, it's not just the winds that blow hard, it's the politicians' hot air denying any connection to climate change.
Ukraine plans EU-gauge rail link to Lviv, launching in 2026, while Europe debates its border policies. Connecting dots on a map is one thing. Connecting people across history's fault lines is another. Maybe the tracks will carry more than just trains, like a whisper of unity through a continent that often forgets how to listen.
Elon Musk eyes trillionaire status with Tesla pay package while workers watch their wallets shrink. When your paycheck could buy a small nation, it's easy to forget that most folks are just trying to afford groceries and rent.
EU predicts budgetary ruin by 2026, but still funds a cheese museum in Brussels. When the economic forecast is gloomier than a Belgian winter, you'd think they'd cut the cheddar, not glorify it.
Trump threatens to sue BBC for $1 billion over edited coverage, proving you can put a price on a bruised ego. The man who made "you're fired" a catchphrase now wants to cash in on his own version of reality TV, where every cut is a conspiracy and every critic a co-conspirator. Maybe next he'll charge us for the privilege of not watching.
Zelensky demands U.S. Patriot systems as Russia targets power grids, but gets more thoughts and prayers instead. When your country's lights are out and all you get is a candlelit vigil, you know diplomacy's gone dim.
Only 12% of companies secure their containers, and cybersecurity firms call it innovation.
Only 30% of politicians oppose Islamophobia, and Congress calls it progress. When bigotry gets bipartisan approval, it's like asking a fox to guard the henhouse, just without the feathers flying.
Justice Minister claims AI will fix prisoner release errors, but forgets to mention the human error in programming. It's like handing over the keys to the jail cell and hoping the algorithm isn't having a bad hair day.
Only 25% of US voters trust candidates with pro-gun rhetoric, yet those candidates claim it's a sign of integrity. In a land where guns are apparently more sacred than compromise, some politicians have discovered the secret sauce. Less dialogue, more firepower. It's like trying to win a chess game by flipping the board over.
Ella Marie's new single Drunk Breaker off, yet it's just another self-pop tune trying to be profound with a catchy beat. It's like watching someone paint a masterpiece with the same full colors, hoping no one notices the deja vu.
Antonio Brown arrested for attempted murder, proving once again that some athletes can't seem to retire without a bang. From scoring touchdowns to court dates, Brown's career arc is like a masterclass in how not to transition from the gridiron to the good life. When sports stars go rogue, it's less Friday Night Lights and more CSI Miami.
British Ministry of Defence requests stories from British Asian families, then forgets to mention them in history books. It's the classic, tell us your story so we can ignore it strategy, like asking for a recipe and then ordering takeout.
It's like downsizing your closet by tossing out all the clothes and charging more for the hangers.
Supreme Court challenges Trump's tariffs, revealing they punish US consumers more than foreign nations. Turns out, Liberation Day means liberating your wallet from your own money while foreign nations laugh all the way to the bank.
Trump pardons imprisoned Republicans, claiming they're victims of a witch hunt. When justice is a magic trick, the only thing disappearing is accountability, while truth gets sawed in half for applause.
India's capital air pollution spikes 20-fold, yet officials call it a seasonal hiccup. When your air is thicker than your morning chai,
even the most patient yogi might take to the streets with a placard.
When your style icon is a tech CEO with a closet full of identical fleeces, it's clear innovation isn't in the fabric.
When even the BBC's suits can't handle the heat from a Trump edit, it's clear the truth is now like a delicate souffle. One wrong move and it all collapses. Welcome to the post-truth bake-off, where the only thing more fragile than our faith in media is the media itself.
Only 20% of indie bands perform in French, yet Banana calls it indie rock. When your band name sounds like a sneeze and your song isn't French, you've mastered the art of indie contradiction.
Only 30% of song ideas survive Reddit feedback, yet Glassflint calls it crowdsourcing. When your song title sounds like a yoga pose and the pressure is incarnate, you might just be squeezing out diamonds or coal.
When your loyalty to Trump is skin deep, even your wrinkles toe the party line. Botox has never been so bipartisan.
California weakens AI regulations to keep tech moguls from vanishing, but who knew the Golden State had a soft spot for gilded cages? When California falls faster than a cheap lawn chair under the weight of tech tantrums, it's clear the only thing more flexible than their loss is their spine. Welcome to Silicon Valley's favorite new game, regulatory limbo, where the bar keeps dropping and the only winners are those who already own the board.
When words fail, the beat speaks. But in a world of noise, silence is the real revolution.
LG AI Research unveils new AI strategy, claims its career's tech breakthrough. When corporations talk strategy, they often mean world domination with a friendlier face. Who knew superintelligence had a corporate ladder to climb?
Only 5% of tech remixes break through, and DJs call it innovation. With tech house remixes multiplying like rabbits on caffeine, it's no wonder every beat sounds like a deja vu dance party.
Wall Street embraces chaos as S&P 500 options volatility spikes, turning financial markets into a roller coaster powered by bubble soap. When your investment strategy resembles a carnival ride, it's no surprise that the only certainty is uncertainty. Welcome to the stock market's latest thrill. The Whiplash Special, where traders scream for excitement and pray their portfolios don't puke.
Only 10% of Estonians report November as peaceful, and the tourism board calls it tranquility. When your biggest export is serenity, selling silence in November sounds less like a marketing strategy and more like a national lullaby.
Iraq opens polls for 1.3 million security voters, calls it democracy in action. When the displaced and armed are your first voters, it's less a democratic celebration and more a roll call at a political masquerade.
Scientists claim MXenes turn air into fuel, but the only thing transforming faster is the hype around these wafer-thin wonders. When your miracle material sounds like something from a sci-fi fever dream, it's easy to forget that turning air into gold is still alchemy. So,
Feds charge 2 Cleveland pitchers with pitch rigging, call it betrayal of America's pastime. When the fastball turns into a curveball of corruption, even baseball's diamond loses its sparkle, revealing the dirt beneath the bases.
Pictet strategist Renaud Chatelain says market seeks footing, but the economy's doing the cha-cha with choppy US data. When the market's dancing like it's got 2 left feet, strategists become the DJs spinning old hits, hoping no one notices the skips. Meanwhile, central banks play musical chairs and we're left wondering if anyone's actually got a seat.
Pizza ovens launch from $17 to In a world where pizza is already perfect, these ovens are the artisanal answer to a question nobody asked, but everyone will pay for.
Nation-state hackers deploy airstop malware, blame it on the supply chain gremlins. When cybervillains use malware like a new shade of lipstick, the true crime is the supply chain playing the fall guy. It's a digital whodunit where the butler always did it, but nobody remembers hiring him.
Meta claims to fight Instagram and Facebook scams, yet user complaints spike like a bad crypto stock. When your virtual neighborhood's overrun with scammers, it's less community and more digital dystopia. Even the cat videos are nervous.
BBC leaders resign over Trump speech edit, claim they were merely practicing interpretive journalism. When the BBC turns a presidential speech into a choose-your-own-adventure, it seems their editors forgot the audience isn't supposed to be the author. In the end, it's a plot twist where the truth got edited out.
Star Wars Starfighter director denies it's a sequel or prequel, invents the Schrodinger's movie of the galaxy. In a universe where every film is a something kill, this one's floating in a narrative black hole. May the plot be with you.
Federal Reserve reports financial sector net worth is negative $4 million, calls it a liquidity challenge.
Only 30% of pop songs undress society's norms, and Jenny Fowl calls it an art form. When your music strips away more layers than your laundry day, you know you're not just making waves, you're orchestrating a tsunami of truth. Wild's track is a sonic streak through the prudish park of modern music.
Global Satellite Survey reveals landfill methane emissions uncertain, promises data-driven precision. When satellites can't pinpoint Earth's fart zones, maybe it's time we stop burying the evidence and start composting the truth.
Trump pardons supporters overturning his 2020 Michigan loss because nothing says justice like rewriting history with a Sharpie. It's a bold move when your version of loyalty is pardoning the same folks who tried to erase democracy with a crayon and a prayer.
Only 6% of New Yorkers believe grassroots work will change politics, and Mandani calls it a revolution. In a city where dreams are made of concrete, it's the grassroots that dare to plant seeds in the sidewalk cracks.
Senate Democrats surrender after 40 days of gridlock, then call it a strategic retreat. When your political poker face folds faster than a cheap lawn chair, it's less a strategy and more a tragic comedy. The only thing more painful than the shutdown was watching the Democrats dissolve like sugar in tea.
Robot rescues Ukrainian soldier trapped 33 days, then files for PTSD from navigating minefields and mortar strikes. When even robots need therapy after a mission, you know the war has reached a new level of dystopian absurdity.
Unions allow Democrats to collapse in shutdown fight, then claim its tactical brilliance. When the guardians of labor become the enablers of political spinelessness, it's clear the only thing they're organizing is a backroom retreat. The Democrats' backbone is MIA, and unions just handed them the shovel to dig deeper.
UPS and FedEx ground all MD-11 planes after deadly Louisville crash. Cite abundance of caution. When caution is only abundant after tragedy strikes, maybe the abundance was just a bit too late for comfort.
NAVAN CFO claims business travel continues to rise as if carbon footprints are the latest must-have accessory. When the world's on fire, who wouldn't want to clock up those frequent flyer miles and toast marshmallows over melting glaciers?
UK tribunal blocks climate activists' deportation, proving that sometimes justice wears an eco-friendly cape. While Marcus Decker gets to stay, the real question is whether the planet will survive long enough for him to enjoy the view.
Chelsea accuses Courtois of broken promises, then blames him for their own buyer's remorse. When a player's loyalty is measured in transfer fees and tantrums, the beautiful game turns into a sitcom of broken contracts and bruised egos. Courtois may have left, but Chelsea's real loss is their own credibility.
Only 22% of enterprises secure their browsers, and the report calls it
As cyber threats evolve faster than your browser can update, enterprises are left scrambling like a caffeine-deprived IT team on a Monday morning.
ICC charges Joseph Kony with 39 war crimes, but he's still on the lam. Kony's rap sheet reads like a horror film script, yet the world's most wanted fugitive continues to ghost the ICC like a master escape artist.
When fiscal responsibility means punishing a city for daring to exist, maybe it's time to ask if the budget's been replaced with a grudge ledger. New York, the Big Apple's now on a diet, courtesy of political pettiness.
5 drones buzz over Belgium's dual nuclear plant, but authorities shrug it off. Looks like Belgium's security measures are as airtight as a sieve, letting unknown drones dance over a nuclear plant like it's a rave.
Only 20% of Instagram users identify song titles, and Snoop Dogg calls it a feature.
Parody metal band Psychostick releases Sated, proving humor's the real heavy metal.
EU demands UK pay billions into budget, calls it a post-Brexit relationship reset. The classic reconciliation gift, a hefty invoice, nothing says, let's be friends again, like a financial slap on the wrist.
Trump administration denies visas to immigrants with health conditions, claiming it's about public safety. When compassion takes a backseat to bureaucracy, you know we've hit a new low. Denying entry based on health is like banning lifeboats from a sinking ship. Sure, it's efficient, but it lacks a soul.
Orban tightens grip on media as pro-government publisher buys Hungary's biggest tabloid Blick, ensuring headlines read like state-approved bedtime stories. In Hungary, the only thing faster than a tabloid scoop is Orban's sprint to control the narrative, one newspaper at a time.
Apple mandates squircle conformity for macOS Tahoe icons, erasing creative flair. In a world where innovation is king, Apple's design decree feels like a Picasso painting, locked in a beige frame. Sure, uniformity is neat, but when did neat ever inspire a revolution?
Only 30% of men believe women can read age, adiposity, and testosterone from their faces, and science calls it progress. Because who needs tarot cards?
Trump grants pardons to Giuliani and Meadows, then claims it's about healing, because nothing says unity like a get-out-of-jail-free card for your favorite political chess pieces.
Only 85% of Blink's Ace This Blackpink quiz and K-pop fans call it a challenge. Because knowing every beat bop and bop bop from your favorite band is the only real measure of devotion, right?
Trump considers $2,000 tariff-funded payouts to Americans, hoping to buy love with pocket change. It's like trying to patch a sinking ship with dollar bills instead of fixing the hull. If only democracy could be salvaged with a bit of loose change.
Malicious VSX extension Sleepy Duck hijacks Ethereum, then promises decentralized privacy. In the world where crypto is the new oil, even your malware needs a blockchain, because why just hack when you can also mine?
Wall Street bets on shutdown end, then stocks and Bitcoin soar. When your economic strategy is a high-stakes poker game, even the chips are leveraged. Who needs stability when you have adrenaline?
Tom Cruise spends over 2 hours advising Glenn Powell on The Running Man, as if surviving Hollywood isn't its own deadly obstacle course. When your career mentor is a daredevil who leaps from planes for fun, not dying becomes a pretty low bar for success.
RBA's restrictive policy boosts Aussie dollar, then claims currency magic. In a world where fiscal restraint is the new black, Australia struts its economic catwalk, proving discipline can be sexy when you're a dollar.
Supreme Court blocks full SNAP benefits, then calls it justice. The land of the free now serves its most vulnerable a side of red tape with their daily bread. Bon appetit, America.
US airlines cut flights amid endless shutdown, while private jets keep soaring like freedom's exclusive club. When a nation stalls, the skies become a playground for the elites, proving that turbulence is only for the common class.
Pharma giants eye-airing derivatives claim its innovation. While chemists unlock new potential, the pharmaceutical overlords prepare to slap a patent and a hefty price tag on nature's generosity.
If your relationship's future hinges on feline quirks, maybe it's time to question if you're ready to handle life's real curveballs, like shared Wi-Fi passwords.
Appeals court forces Trump administration to pay full SNAP benefits, proving hunger doesn't vote red or blue. Even the courts know that starving the poor is a lousy campaign slogan, but hey, at least they're consistent with their contradictions.
Vodacom profits leap 33%, while customers struggle with data costs. Looks like Vodacom's been taking notes from magicians. Now you see your data, now you don't. Profits up, but who's really winning the disappearing act?
Only 10% of indie bands make it big, and Mike Snow still knows the struggle. In the indie world, the lonely life is just another Tuesday. You might find fame, but your bank account will ghost you.
Nikki Glazer admits fear of Jennifer Hudson's show, Spirit Tunnel on SNL, claiming her non-existent booty lacks rhythm. When the only thing scarier than live TV is realizing your dance moves look like a robot having a midlife crisis.
The IRS cancels direct file for 2026, calling it a strategic pivot. Apparently, the IRS thinks making taxes easier was just too radical. Back to the good old days of confusion and chaos, comrades.
Researchers split memorization from reasoning in AI, claim it's a breakthrough.
Next up, teaching politicians to do the same with their talking points. Imagine a world where they have to think before they speak.
China promises to purchase U.S. soybeans, but farmers still face a field of broken dreams. When a truce is just a fancy way of saying, we'll stop hitting you after we've already knocked your teeth out.
Toyota unveils Walk Me Robot Chair, revolutionizes stairs. Who needs wheels when you can have a chair that moonlights as a mountain goat? Just don't ask it to fetch your coffee.
Parker Hannifin plans to acquire Filtration Group, calls it a strategic expansion. When you can't innovate, just buy someone else's ideas and call it a strategic move.
Lenskart drops on Mumbai debut after $821 million IPO, sparking valuation debate. Looks like Lenskart's stock stumbled out of the gate, proving that even glasses can't help startups see their true worth.
Democrats claim Mamdani as future model but overlook his unique success story. When you try to mass produce a unicorn, you end up with a lot of confused horses and a factory of broken dreams.
Only 42% of listeners recognize Tiger Teeth's homage to 80s rom-coms, but Walk the Moon insists it's original. Nostalgia's a hell of a drug, isn't it? Recycling old tunes into new hits, because who needs fresh when you can have deja vu?
Only 12% of EDM tracks break through the noise, yet DJ Damix calls his latest mix of drops and wubs groundbreaking.
When the traditional dance partner keeps stepping on your toes.
Trump proposes $2,000 tariff dividend checks, claiming prosperity while inflation laughs in the corner. When your economic strategy involves bribing the populace with their own money, you might be mistaking monopoly for reality.
Kentucky invests millions in QB Zach Calzada, benched despite the payday. A seven-figure lesson in the art of throwing money, not footballs, as Kentucky learns that talent can be bought, only overvalued.
U.S. military destroys 2 boats, killing 6, calls it a victory against floating contraband. When your foreign policy involves playing battleship with real lives, maybe it's time to consider a less explosive hobby.
Republicans refuse Democrats' shutdown ending proposal, proving that stalemate is now America's favorite pastime. When political theater becomes an endless rerun, it's clear the real plot twist would be actual governance.
German general predicts Russian attack on NATO, says it could happen tomorrow. A new twist in military clairvoyance, predicting war like it's a weather forecast, with a side of geopolitical anxiety and a sprinkle of imminent doom.
Bad Bunny nabbs 6 Grammy nods for 2026, outshining the industry's beige wallpaper. When a Latin artist breaks through the mainstream's monoculture, it's a reminder that diversity isn't a trend, it's the future.
Serbia's Vucic claims ammo sales to EU, infuriating Russia. Nothing like a Balkan plot twist to remind us that promises in geopolitics are as sturdy as a paper cup in a rainstorm.
Alibaba App's AI infrastructure spent to $53 billion, promises a digital utopia while ignoring worker rights. When a tech giant throws billions into AI, remember that the robots are getting smarter while the workers are left to fend for themselves.
Rosé snags 3 Grammy nods, including Record of the Year, but the music industry still pays her in exposure. While Rosé shines under the Grammy spotlight, the music execs are busy counting their profits and pretending to care about artistry.
Lily Allen assumes wayward nun persona, cigarette in hand, for new album visuals. When life hands you a breakup, why not channel your inner rebellious sister and leave the halo at home?
Reeves proposes scrapping two-child benefit cap, insisting big families shouldn't be penalized, but austerity remains the UK's favourite bedtime story. While Reeves talks fairness, the UK government tucks its budget under the covers, whispering sweet nothings to its shrinking welfare state.
Michigan malls banning ICE agents from schools and churches, but ICE insists on haunting sanctuaries like they're on a ghost tour. Sanctuary or not, ICE agents seem determined to play the role of unwanted specters, spooking communities in the name of the law.
Edmund Fitzgerald's shipwreck mystery persists 50 years on, haunting the Great Lakes. Like a maritime ghost story, the unsolved enigma still whispers through the waves, reminding us that nature never signed a peace treaty.
When buttering up a former reality TV star, it's less about diplomacy and more about perfecting the art of the brown nose.
U.S. Supreme Court lets Trump halt $4 billion in food aid, claiming fiscal responsibility. When feeding families becomes a budget line, empathy's been outsourced to the void, where compassion's just a ghost haunting the balance sheets.
USADA bans Marvin Bracey Williams, former 100-meter world champion, for doping, and the irony runs faster than he ever did. In the race between integrity and success, some athletes trade the finish line for the chemical shortcut.
Supreme Court refuses to reverse same-sex marriage ruling, proving even they can recognize a good idea when they see it. Turns out love wins, and not even the highest court can play Cupid with a wrecking ball.
Male drivers sue Uber and Lyft over women-only rides, claiming discrimination, when equality means dismantling safety options. Irony is driving the carpool lane, fueled by privilege and a misguided sense of entitlement.
Spotify hosts ICE ads despite backlash, and the company claims it's just a playlist of diverse voices.
LegalZoom offers 10% off LLC formations, calls it exclusive. Because nothing says exclusive like a discount so common, it might as well come with your morning coffee.
Trump pardons former Tennessee House Speaker convicted of corruption, proving loyalty trumps legality. When you're fired becomes you're forgiven. The swamp's just a hot tub for political cronies soaking in impunity.
Trump offers new government deal. Democrats recall the last betrayal.
Rapper arrested on drug charges after Grammy nod channels awards season chaos into real-life drama. When your acceptance speech is a mugshot, it's clear the industry's glitter hides more than gold.
Federal Reserve splits on policy. Wall Street feels like it's a party. When the economy's on the edge, nothing says, "We've got this," like a collective shrug from the financial elite.
Senate Democrats defect and shutdown vote, claiming it was the only deal available. When politicians call a compromise the only deal, it's like saying a soggy sandwich is the only meal. Both leave a bad taste and questionable satisfaction.
The EU tightens visa rules for Russians, offering only single-entry visas and promising thorough screenings. Looks like the EU is giving Russian citizens a taste of the world's most exclusive club. No re-entry without a fresh look at your credentials, and don't forget to smile for the bouncers.
Microsoft apologizes for upselling Copilot bundles, offers refunds to millions, proving even tech giants can't resist a cheeky upsell. When your AI Copilot takes you for a ride, at least there's a refund pit stop. Microsoft turning oops into here's your money back.
Russian activist held in Poland admits he worked as FSB agent, and suddenly espionage is the new "I was just following orders." When activists moonlight as spies, it's less power to the people and more power to the state secrets. Who knew double lives could be so bureaucratic?
Scientists edit gene to reduce high cholesterol permanently, but Big Pharma stocks remain suspiciously stable. If a gene snip can cut out cholesterol meds, will we see a new market for genetic scissors, or just more health insurance fine print?
Only 10% of middle-aged gamers admit nostalgia for early computer games, while the rest are busy trying to level up in real life. As pixelated heroes fade, will they trade cheat codes for cheat diets, or just keep hitting reset on their midlife crises?
Only 50% of food stamps recipients can feed their kids during the shutdown, while Congress debates their lunch menu options.
Argentina's Cuadernos corruption case begins, promising justice, but the ink on the bribe-stained pages is still wet. In a world where politicians write checks to themselves, justice is just a footnote in the margins.
AI bubble promises economic growth, but tech giants keep selling the same old silicon dreams. When your future is built on a bubble, the only thing that inflates is the CEO's bonus.
New York Giants fire head coach Brian Daboll, then wonder why losing streaks persist. Swapping coaches like socks doesn't stop the athlete's foot of a franchise stuck in its own locker room funk.
Fairfield's first female battalion chief settles $1.7 million lawsuit against City, proving justice is as costly as it is elusive. When breaking the glass ceiling, don't forget your protective gear. Shards of sexism can be expensive to clean up.
Spotify charges $10 monthly for music access, but the soul of blues rock is still free and rebellious as ever. Why pay for a playlist when you can get a masterclass in defiance and heartbreak from the gods of rock themselves?
Analysts compare Donald Trump's approval rating to the Titanic, which makes sense since both are famously unsinkable. Guess that Make America Great Again life preserver wasn't as buoyant as advertised.
Because when you're losing your own atmosphere, naturally you turn to the experts in hot air.
Airlines cancel over 2,500 flights, call it routine maintenance. When your business trip becomes a staycation, remember the sky's the limit, unless you're actually trying to fly.
Only 1% of history lessons cover the 1918 armistice, and textbooks call it comprehensive. When peace gets a footnote and war gets a chapter, you know education's priorities are as twisted as a pretzel.
Liberal elites ignored corporate loopholes for decades. Then Trump danced through them like a cha-cha champion. When the gatekeepers let the fox guard the henhouse, don't be shocked if feathers fly and democracy gets plucked.
Sometimes, the universe ensures that the Achilles heel of a would-be villain is simply a deflated Goodyear and an unexpected call.
Tesla shareholders endorse CEO's trillion-dollar pay plan, and they call it a visionary investment. When your paycheck could buy a small country, it's less about innovation and more about gilded ego inflation.
Justice Minister defends Lamy, blames broken system for sex offenders' release, then shifts focus to policy reform. When the system's more broken than a politician's promise, it's amazing what gets lost in the cracks, like accountability and public safety.
Trump administration threatens states over full SNAP payments, then calls hunger relief a luxury. When compassion becomes a crime and feeding families is a radical act, the only thing being fully funded is the cruelty.
Trump claims America must stay liquid, then dismisses feeding millions. In this dystopian liquidity fantasy, hunger is just collateral damage, and compassion is as rare as a balanced checkbook.
The Gap Band drops a bomb on 1982, igniting dance floors with sonic dynamite. When soul and funk detonate, the blast radius reaches across decades, leaving nothing but grooves and unapologetic swagger in its wake.
Mozilla unveils mascot Kit, claiming it safeguards your privacy with cartoonish charm. Introducing a digital fox to guard your data is like hiring a squirrel to guard your nuts. Adorable, but not exactly confidence-inspiring.
The Met showcases Jacqueline de Ribes, charging haute couture prices for nostalgia. Paying a fortune to see clothes you can't wear is like buying gourmet food to admire, but never taste. Fashion's ultimate tease.
Like reducing food portions to solve hunger, making fewer planes fly won't fix the chaos on the ground. A sky-high illusion.
Because who needs checks and balances when you can just bulldoze the chessboard? Next up, chess pieces replaced with rubber ducks.
Only 40% of tires in the US are recycled, and tire companies call it a sustainable solution. When your definition of sustainable includes mountains of rubber looming like post-apocalyptic art installations, it's time to redefine sanity.
Only 30% of agricultural chemicals are regulated for safety, yet pesticide companies assure us they're harmless. When your salad comes with an invisible side of infertility, maybe it's time to toss that farm-to-table fantasy out the window.
China launches the Fujian aircraft carrier, claiming it ensures peace. Because nothing says, "We come in peace," like a floating fortress, armed to the teeth, ready to turn the ocean into a game of battleship.
Only 32% of European cities use local electric buses, and the EU calls it progress. When your clean energy dreams are made in China, it's like borrowing a sweater from your frenemy, cozy, but the strings are pulled by someone else.
Only 20% of pop songs mention letters, and Louis calls it innovation. In a world where text me reigns supreme, singing about letters is like launching a carrier pigeon in the age of drones. Retro charm or just stuck in the past?
Supreme Court rules against Santa tax. Claims it protects tradition.
When comedy becomes the last refuge from chaos, it's like patching a sinking ship with laughter and hoping it floats.
European populist leaders double down on xenophobia, then warn US Democrats of electoral doom. When your political strategy is as fresh as last century's fear-mongering, maybe it's time to rethink your playbook, or just keep yelling immigrants and hope no one notices the lack of substance.
EDF announces further delays for Hinkley Point, calls it progress.
Universal Pictures produces the Black Phone 2 soundtrack, calls it a haunting masterpiece. When your playlist feels like seance, it's less about genre and more about summoning the right kind of demons.
Ghislaine Maxwell finds joy in minimum security Texas prison where reality is optional. Apparently, the secret to happiness is a cozy prison where accountability is just a word and comfort is a perk for the privileged. Who knew serving time could be this cushy?
EU reports 80% increased consumer choice, calls it a digital revolution. When tech giants give you more options, it's like choosing your own adventure in a dystopian novel, except every ending is just another subscription fee.
England's Children's Commissioner demands closure of youth jails, then offers no plan. When the system fails the young, it's like giving them a life sentence before they've even started living, just without the orange jumpsuit.
OpenAI seeks government bailout, calls it a strategic partnership. When tech giants need a handout, they rebrand desperation as innovation. Apparently, cutting-edge AI means never having to say you're bankrupt.
Balancing the books by squeezing pennies from the pockets of those already counting coppers, economic wizardry, or just a magic trick with no rabbit.
YouTube comments spark louder than the song's title, then everyone pretends they're music critics. When Romanian folk songs meet the digital age, the real entertainment is watching the armchair experts howl at each other over authenticity.
Vail shifts focus to non-China markets, claiming diversification. As China flexes its iron price muscles, Vail's quest for new customers resembles a rock band searching for fresh ears
After a sour breakup with a demanding record label,